What is going on, guys? Styx here with the Token Minorities, bringing you the draft analysis from my team for the Season 2 of the UBL, and honestly, I am super excited to be doing this and to be a part of this league this year. We have a ton of big names, a lot of great guys and girls that I've been getting to know over the past couple weeks, so I mean, just an awesome group that I'm really looking forward to get to know better, get to battle against, all that good stuff. And I'm also excited because this is going to be the first league where I am playing on Wi-Fi. I've never done a Wi-Fi league before, and up to this point my DS has actually kind of been not working as well, so haven't been able to do a Wi-Fi league, but at this point this is the first Wi-Fi league that I'm doing. DS is all in working order, so I am really excited to get this underway, be able to play on DS, and I'm actually really kind of nervous or anxious, I guess is the better way to describe it, because like I'm excited for it, but at the same time I'm one that's very used to having calcs in front of me. I'm very used to having the ability to see exactly what percent my attack did to the opposing Pokemon, and being able to base my plays off of that with Wi-Fi, because I do not have a capture card, and I'm not going to get a capture card as 3DS is in its last legs, as the Switch is becoming the way to do things. I'm not going to be getting one, so I don't have the exact rolls with that little marker that they put up in the corner, so it's going to be very interesting for sure, as I'm not able to see exact damage rolls, and also playing on Wi-Fi you just don't have as much information as you do on Showdown. But nonetheless, super excited. In the draft we did get the 7th position, so I'm really not sure what's going to fall to me. I don't have any plans going in. If Coco falls, there is absolutely no way that I'm not picking it, but I think just my whole plan going in was to see what fell, see what the best mon available was, and draft around that. So yeah, let's just go ahead and jump into it. And with the first pick, was very surprised that it fell to me, but at number 7 with our first pick of the first round, or not first pick of the first round, wow, with the 7th pick in the draft, we were able to grab something that I was surprised fell, and was something that I've been wanting to really actually try in a true league, and that is going to be Mew. Now, like I said, Mew was a mon that I was not expecting to fall to me. I was kind of expecting to try to plan around something like Zygarde 50 or something to that extent, but when I saw that Mew was available, I grabbed that thing very quickly, because like I said, I had used it before in the JAL, but that was just kind of a for fun side league that fell apart very quickly, so I never got the chance to really use Mew. And honestly, I think it's one of the best Pokemon, if not the best Pokemon, in the entire format, just because of its versatility. I mean, it is literally the versatile Pokemon. So just any myriad of sets it can run, it can be whatever you need it to be, and the goal behind each draft is to not pigeonhole Mew into a specific role, so that you can take full advantage of its versatility. Because if you just force Mew to be the bulky rocker, the bulky defogger every single week, then Mew is just going to be that, and while it will do that job very well, you won't really get to abuse Mew as well as you can. So that's really going to be my goal. Once I grabbed Mew, Mew is just kind of one of those mons that the approach that I took was try to make a draft around, well, not really make a draft around Mew, but draft the rest of my team as if I don't have Mew, because in that case I will not be forcing Mew into any one single role. If I can allow it to have the versatility that it is known for, then I think it can succeed very well. So yeah, I'm very glad that I was able to grab Mew with the first pick. I'm looking forward to using it. I'm curious to see how it ends up fitting with my style, as I'm more of an offensive player that likes to have a lot of pivots, whereas Mew is just kind of one of those things that, well, I guess I did technically use it in PPL, but I also had it with Tapu Koko and Zardex, so that really doesn't count. Just having Mew as my solo top tier threat is something that I'm really going to be interested to see how I'm able to do with that, and is something that I'm excited to do. Now, with my next pick, with my round 2 pick, I had the 10th pick, so I mean I'm right smack dab in the middle of the draft, so I'm able to see what things fall, just like nothing really, I'm not able to combo that well. I just had to take each pick individually and see how that goes. And really, I was looking at quite a few different things for my round 2 pick. I was wanting to get a good dragon early on, so I was like, okay, well, Hydreigon could be good. I was looking immediately at Garchomp, but I mean, Garchomp got snagged because, I mean, let's be real, it's Garchomp. So really wasn't sure what would fall to me. I was also looking at a couple of the higher tier megas, but really couldn't rely on those things falling anyway. However, the next mon that I grabbed I thought synergized pretty well with Mew because it's another bulky mon that has U-turn, it's another defogger, it's something that has a good amount of priority, so I don't just have to rely on Mew for the priority in and of itself. And it's a mon that like made drafting a little bit more tricky around it, but I was thinking that it's a good mon that I've been wanting to try, as well as this draft is just something that I've been like, you know what, I'm just going to try to grab a bunch of mons that I haven't used before and see how that goes. And so with my round 2 pick, I grab my Mega, which happens to be Mega Scizor. So I'm going to be completely honest. If I had not just had the season that I had in the CPC where I took 3 different, I believe, 4X weaknesses, at least 3. I don't remember, was there a 4th one? But I mean, at least 3 4X weaknesses, and had some pretty good success with them, particularly Swampert and Ferrothorn being my walls that had 4X weaknesses, and was able to still do pretty well with them. I don't think I would have grabbed Mega Scizor just because, I mean, Hidden Power Fire is a thing, and fire coverage is actually very, very common on a lot of different things, as Flamethrower and Fire Punch are pretty widely distributed. However, like I said, because I was a little bit, I'll admit, I was a little bit cocky, like, oh, I don't care about 4X weaknesses, I will be fine with that. And so I grabbed Mega Scizor because, in my opinion, well, at least I thought it was one of the top tier Megas in the game, maybe not like top 5 or anything like that, but it was still a very, very good Mega that I thought was worth a round 2 pick. However, it was kind of one of those in-the-moment decisions that I thought, you know what, it looks good with Mew, it's a nice steel type, has U-turn, has priority, has roost, and considering I was compensating a little bit for the fact that in CPC my walls, I had like 1 recovery move between all of them, so now I have 2 potential walls that both have reliable recovery, so compensating a little bit in that regard. And so it was just kind of one of those picks where I was like, yeah, this works, this pairs well together. But what I didn't realize is that while Mega Scizor is very, very bulky, has priority, has U-turn, has reliable recovery, has setup, all the things that I really, really like, and I had had success with regular Scizor in the past, I don't know. I'm kind of torn about how I feel about this pick because, spoilers, I don't like my draft all that much, and so I was trying to figure out where exactly my draft kind of went wrong. And at this point, with Mew Mega Scizor, I think that there still is plenty of ways that this draft can go. There are plenty of things that I can draft around these 2 mons to make them be successful. And so, I mean, with Mega Scizor, Mew Mega Scizor, not necessarily my style, as there's not a lot of speed at all. But, I mean, it's still nice and bulky. These things can potentially cover for each other relatively well. And with my round 3 pick, I was eyeing up Hydreigon hard. I was looking at that being like, okay, I want that mon. I want it really, really badly. A dragon with these 2 would be great, as well as Hydra has also U-turn. It's a very good Scarfer, has tech moves and support moves in Defog and Tailwind, all that good stuff. And so I was really trying to go for a good dragon and try to grab one before they all left. However, unfortunately, I was sniped off Hydreigon, and for the 2nd draft in a row, I make a panic dragon pick and pick something that really just kind of was the final nail in the coffin. Yeah, I know it's only round 3, but was kind of the final nail in the coffin in terms of making this draft really just kind of awkward, and I was really having to try to catch up after this next pick and build around something that really didn't have a whole lot of synergy, and I really just kind of forced myself into a very uncomfortable position drafting wise. And my next pick is, in my opinion, the reason for that, and that is Kommo-o. In and of itself, Kommo-o is not a particularly bad mon, especially by draft format standards. It's very bulky. Actually, it's surprisingly bulky. Has the ability to go physical and special, both with equal I mean, it has all the moves on the physical and the special side to where it can run each of those sets very, very viably. It has a ton of coverage. It has access to stealth rocks, has a myriad of setup moves, and really it just, I mean, dragon fighting typing is insane. Like, that is such good typing. However, the reason that it made my draft very, very difficult to try to rebound from is just because, I mean, I don't know. It has, I mean, it fills another role. It's another dragon. I mean, it's a solid enough dragon, but I think I prioritized it way too early, and so other picks that I could have grabbed in this position, like a strong grass type, well, basically a good 1,000 arrows resist, I could have grabbed in this spot. And so, I mean, by panic picking Komao, I really put myself in a position where mons that I could have grabbed in round 3 were then taken after me, and then when it came back to me, I had to really fill in the gaps with mons that were less suited to do what I really wanted. And Komao, I mean, again, is a very solid mon, has the ability to go physical or special, has a ton of setup moves, has stealth rock. I mean, it is a good mon, but the combination of Mew, Komao, and Mega Scizor really is just wonky. It's very weird, and especially at a tier 2 pick. Like, if this was a points draft, I think I could have salvaged this, just because I could have spent a few more points for higher tier mons, yada yada yada. This is also something worth noting. This is also my first tier draft, which is something that I'm very not used to. I'm used to being like, okay, well, I have this many points, I can go all these different directions. Grabbing Komao as my first tier 2 really limited what I was able to do with the rest of my draft, and it was just kind of one of those picks that was just like, well, I made it, don't necessarily like it, but let's see what I can do with the rest of my draft. So yeah, Komao, Mew, Mega Scizor, very wonky, and with the tiers that we have is going to make it difficult to fill out my team and fill out the roles that I need, because right now my team has no speed under base 100. I have no grass Pokemon. The Grasscade has already started. I picked Komao instead of a good grass type, so by the time it gets back to me, it's going to be very difficult to find a good one, and you will see how desperate I was for a good grass type, or not a good grass type, but for a grass type and an arrows resist by my next pick, as, yeah, all of them went. The fact that Komao was tier 2 really limited what I was able to do, and so with my next pick, I fill out one of my 2 tier 3 spots by grabbing a mon that's actually making a return to a team of mine that I actually kind of like, and so we'll see how this goes, but that is Decidueye. So yeah, desperate for grass? Check. Not seeing any grasses that particularly work with my draft? Also check. And not having any speed over base 100 4 picks into the draft? Yeah, that's unfortunately another check as well. However, that being said, Decidueye is a mon that I really, really liked when I used it in the PPL Division 2. I mean, it's a mon, has U-turn, has defog, has pretty good bulk, especially special bulk, has very good special bulk, to where it's able to check a lot of special threats. I mean, it has good priority, has very good coverage. I mean, really, Decidueye is not a bad mon, but it's not a round 4 mon. I was just really starting to feel the pressure of the draft in terms of, okay, I mean, I have my Mega tier 1 and tier 2, well, tier 3, it's starting to be like, okay, I need to get the good tier 3 mons, I need to prioritize like tier 4, because there's very few, and by forcing tier 4s and 5s, and by forcing at least one of both of those, you have to kind of prioritize where you want to get and what roles you want to fill with the mons in those positions. And like I was saying, with Scizor, Mew, and Komao, I really left myself with roles that needed to be filled that were not easily filled by lower tier mons. I mean, Mew I do not regret at all. Mew was a very good 7th pick. Like, I would take that again almost every single time, unless Tapu Koko was there, but that's beside the point. The fact that the role that Mew filled as a bulky psychic is something that can be filled by a multitude of low tier mons. Komao as a dragon, I could have grabbed like Goodra, Druddigon. There were a bunch of other dragon Pokemon that I could have picked in lower tiers that would have allowed me another tier 2 pick that I could have picked a little bit better, and same with Mega Scizor being a steel type. There are good steel types in the lower tiers. So I think the roles that I picked with my high tiers were roles that could have been filled by lower tiers, which left me with roles to fill in the lower tiers that weren't readily filled by them. So hence, that's why Decidueye came in. It was a pretty good, well, it's a good mon. Like, I like Decidueye. I'm not just trying to crap all over it. But the fact that it was a tier 3 grass type that I grabbed was really just kind of a, oh boy, this is going to be kind of rough, like trying to fill out the good grass types with a tier 3. Like, yeah, Shaman was there, but that was also redundant with Mew, and I wanted the ability to have a little bit more. U-turn wanted Defog, which Decidueye gave, and so I mean, I'm not mad at Decidueye. Decidueye, you are a good mon. Just I realized I started feeling the pressure of trying to fill roles in the lower tiers with mons that don't necessarily fill those roles as well as other tiers would, as higher tiers would, which I know kind of sounds like a dumb thing to say, but like Bulky Psychic, like I said, is something that you can fill at any point. Like, Bulky Psychics, they're all through the draft. Dragons you can grab at any point. So yeah, I'm just starting to feel the pressure, but Decidueye was the first step in trying to rectify the issues of this team. And next up, I am really just trying to be like, okay, got Decidueye, what is next? What is the mon that I'm going to grab next? What is the role that I would really like to fill? I had my eye on a tier 4 that I thought would really, really help my team, and so I just went for it. I round 5'd my tier 4 because that was a mon that was one of the few mons in tier 4 that I thought could really, really help me, and that mon is Seismitoad. Now, anyone that knows me knows that I love me some water grounds. I mean, I don't remember, I think the last draft that I did not grab either Swampert or Seismitoad was all the way back in CPC Season 5. I think that I've always had one of those two on my teams. In fact, no, I didn't have it in VPL, but I wasn't able to draft my own team. But in the teams that I have grabbed and teams that I've been really able to put together where I have been able to grab either Seismitoad or Swampert, I've always grabbed one of those two just because I love what they bring to the team. Like, just the ability to be a water type that is immune to Volt Switch. I mean, yeah, you do have the grass weakness, but I really try to cover that with the rest of my mons. And I mean, in my draft so far, 3 of my 5 mons are grass resists, with one of them even 4x resisting grass. So yeah, Seismitoad's grass weakness is not going to be an issue. And then additionally, what Seismitoad can do for my team, besides being just a great tier 4, I mean, Seismitoad in tier 4, I saw that in immediately, like before the draft even started, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm going to grab this one. This is a tier 4 that can help almost any single team that I go for. And then with Mega Scizor on the team, already creates a little bit of a hidden power choke to where my opponent will have to pick between HP Fire and HP Grass, which really, really helped me out, particularly in CPC this last season where I had something similar with Ferrothorn and Swampert like I had alluded to earlier. So yeah, Seismitoad, I know that I picked this up in round 5, which is something that just you don't see, but considering what my team has to deal with, like given how poorly I drafted in the early rounds, I just had to go for this. I had to make sure that my tier 4 slot was filled with something that could really help my team, as with my free slots and my other tier 3s, I felt that there were more options that I had. Just Seismitoad was so crucial to the rest of the drafting of my team that I had to go for it. So yeah, Seismitoad, amazing, amazing mon. It's not Swampert, but Swampert was tier 3, so grabbing Seismitoad in tier 4 is something that I'm very, very satisfied with, very, very happy with, all that good stuff. So yeah, Seismitoad here, round 5, a little bit early, but it just fit my team so perfectly and enabled so much that I had to go for it. Now you might be looking at my team and thinking, okay, what are the cores that Styx has going on here? I mean, he's got Dragon Steel, he's missing the Fairy, he's got Fire Water, he is missing, oh, he's got, not Fire Water, he's got Grass Water, and he is missing the Fire, he's got a Bulky Psychic, he's got plenty of U-turn, he's got 3 hazard setters, so I mean, really, I'm looking pretty, like I have the roles filled, just not in the way that I would like. And also, one major thing, I have no speed. Mew is my fastest mon. Mew is not going to be running speed a whole lot. Like, a lot of times Mew is bulky, but I mean, if you draft a good team around it, it's not going to have to be every single time. But basically what I'm saying is you can't rely on Mew for speed. So I wanted something that was fast. I was like, okay, well, Jolteon and Aerodactyl, I mean, yeah, I can look at those, but I might want to grab those later. But I needed speed. I really did need something fast, something that can force my opponent to run speed and not just be able to run super bulky on all of their fast mons. And it just so happened that this is a mon that I'd used before, have not had a chance to use it since then, so I'm very excited to bring this back. It's also a grounded poison, so it fills that niche nicely, as well as having toxic spikes, and again, anybody that knows me knows that I love me some toxic spikes. So with my next pick, even though I still need the fairy, the picks behind me, I don't know, I'll explain that when I get to it, but even though I still needed a fairy, this mon I could not pass up the chance to grab it, and so with my 6th round pick, I grabbed me some Scolipede. So even though it's another bug, the only thing that Scolipede really, the only weakness that Scolipede shares with Mega Scizor is the weakness to fire, but I mean, I already have Como and Seismitoad for that, so I really wasn't overly worried about that as well. But what Scolipede finally gives this team is some speed. Yes, it is only base 112, 113, something like that. So, I mean, it's not, like, insanely fast. It's not the speed that I'm used to having with, like, Tapu Koko, like a base 120, something like that. But it still is speed, and with Speed Boost, it forces my opponent to run more speed than just, like, a minimum, like, amount for Mew. It does force him to be like, okay, or force them, sorry, not him, forces them to be like, okay, I have to prep for Scolipede being fast. I have to prep for it at +1. I have to have answers to it. Even though it is not over base 115, it still forces a lot of speed just outside of that, or ways to deal with speed. So in one mon, I was able to force some speed control out of my opponent, and this gives me a little bit of speed control as well, as in addition to the ability to hazard stack. So very, very glad that I was able to grab Scolipede, as it opens up quite a bit, and it also gives me a grounded poison, which deters toxic spikes, which would give my Mew, Como, Decidueye, Seismitoad all a very, very bad time. So like I alluded to in the Seismitoad, I also needed a fairy. Now, with my round 6 pick, obviously I ended up going Scolipede, but I was between two options and was wondering, okay, which is less likely to be taken between now and my next pick? Like, I had to figure out, okay, do I want to grab my fairy now, or do I want to grab Scolipede? And ultimately, Scolipede was the mon that I decided, you know what, it's more likely to get picked than this next mon, because a lot of the people between 1 and 6 already had their fairies, and the ones that didn't, it didn't look like this mon would fit on their team as well. So I grabbed Scolipede, even though this mon was actually very important to me being able to get some synergy on the team as well, and be able to mend the issues that I had created early on. I ended up just, like I said, saw that most of the people had their fairies and didn't think this mon would get picked, and luckily it did fall to me, and that is a mon that is very, very underrated, a very, very good mon that I'm extremely excited to use, and that is Gardevoir. While I do already have Mew, and having a fairy that resists dark would be nice, Gardevoir was just a mon that really fit this team relatively well. There are mons that I would have liked to have picked besides Gardevoir in the fairy spot, but given what I had already picked, given what I had available, Gardevoir in tier 3 was pretty much as good as it was going to get for a fairy. But regardless, that doesn't mean that Gardevoir is a bad mon. I'm very excited to use it, mainly because of Healing Wish. I love me some Healing Wish, and considering this team is starting to look to be very offensive, having that option is really, really strong. Just be able to bring something back, like use it to break its own counter, and then bring it back up, and then now the counter's weakened, it can't be used to obviously take on that mon anymore, and then I will have a better chance to win from that point. But also the fact that Gardevoir has Wish Protect, has Heal Bell, it can run Trick to support teams, it can run Taunt, it has priority options, not the greatest, but it still technically does have them. And so I think that Gardevoir is very, very underrated. It's very strong with base 125 special attack. So very excited about that, particularly because my team was looking a lot more physically offensive, then especially Gardevoir helps fix that a little bit. And even though the speed tier is relatively redundant, it's still something that I didn't have at the time on my team, so it works out pretty well there. And so yeah, finally get my fairy, complete my Dragonsteel Fairy Core, and Gardevoir is a mon that been wanting to use. Jolt made it look very, very good, so I am quite excited to use that. Next up, I really am looking at my team and seeing that, okay, I have bulk, momentum, hazards, but I really don't have a breaker. I don't have any mon that like jumps out from my roster and it's like, okay, be scared of this. This is a threat that when it comes in, it is going to claim a kill. So I'm really wanting to get some wall breaking. I want to get just some power on my team. I also need something that, you know, isn't grounded, because everything on my team is hit by Earthquake at this point, and my only resist is Decidueye, who still can take a very, very good chunk from things like Landorus and other strong ground types. So I'm like, okay, I need a breaker that can also not be on the ground, and luckily this mon was still available. I was very surprised to see this mon there, but I mean, then again, it's a mon that's only seldomly drafted, but is still something that really works well with my team given what I have. And that mon, I am going to be using my second free slot. I guess I already grabbed Scolipede, but I'm grabbing another tier 1, and that is going to be Thundurus Therian. So I've been talking for a really long time already, so I'm going to speed it up a little bit as we near the end of the draft, as I'm really, like, you guys know that I'm trying to fill the holes that I created with poor early picks. And yeah, Thundurus is just another one of those that really is just trying to fill in what I have. And I needed a ground immunity, needed a breaker, and this one is a special breaker, which works really well given the fact that the rest of my team looks mostly physical except for Gardevoir. So between Gardevoir and Thundy, I have a very imposing special threat to my opponent, in addition to Mew and Como, who are threats, but they're not like, they don't jump out as like, oh geez, I need to have a special wall for this guy. Thundurus is something that forces prep from your opponent. It's something that is terrifying on paper. Not necessarily as good in practice, but on paper it's like, oh geez, this thing can just sweep me. Agility, nasty plot, it has momentum, it has good enough speed to utilize both of its momentum moves, both Volt Switch and U-Turn, has plenty of coverage with also support moves like Knockoff, has like Sludge Bomb, it has just a ton of options, and it also has Defog too. So even though, not sure how often I would use a Defog Thundurus Therian, but that's always just an option that is nice to have. So Special Breaker, ground immunity, able to potentially defog, also has typing that complements the rest of my team. Thundurus fit this role so well, very glad to have it. And really the end of my draft, even though the first part was kind of like, well, it's kind of craptacular all things considered, the back part of my draft filled out very nicely. I was night sniped. I was not sniped much at all, so I was able to fill out my team, even though it's not as good as I would want it to be, and in my honest opinion is not a particularly good draft. Still able to finish it out to something where I definitely can work with it, and I want to see how I'm able to do it. So yeah, after Thundurus, notice my team needed a dark type. This is also a mon that I had a ton of experience, well, not a ton of experience, I had a ton of fun using. There we go, I had a good experience using it. There we go, I was combining things that I said. And so with my next pick, I am grabbing my dark type. I'm giving myself a little bit more speed in this case, and also some very, very nice momentum that my team can use, and also enables some setup with the other mons, with my setup mons. And so you already know what it is. That mon is Alolan Persian. Alolan Persian is one of those mons, and I am all over the hype train for this thing. I think it is so good, has such a good speed tier, has the ability to just shut down a lot of big physical threats, like things like Mega Kangaskhan. I used it to check a Mega Kangaskhan. Actually, I used it to switch into and take on a Mega Kangaskhan and a Landorus Therian last season that I had it in the PPL. I mean, I love it. Just Parting Shot is perfect for me. It's momentum that also enables setup. It has the ability to taunt, knock off, foul play to where you don't even have to invest into its attack in order for it to do damage to physical threats. And while Alolan Persian can't really do much to special attackers, just the fact that it is such a good tier 4 for the ability to check and counter what it does I really, really like Alolan Persian, and even though I was not able to get Darkinium spoilers, I still think that Alolan Persian will be able to carry its weight on my team just with the momentum, what it's able to check, what it's able to prevent, and yeah, just has a good amount of moves that I really think I can use to my advantage. So now at this point in the draft, I only have enough points left for a tier 5 in my free slots. I already have a free slot in my tier 5, and I also have my Z move. Now there are a couple tier 5s that I have my eye on that I think I can really use, because tier 5 is just kind of the garbage bin, more or less, for the mons that weren't good enough to get into the upper tiers. So I decided that, you know what, screw it, all the good Z moves are taken. Like Fightinium was gone, I believe Darkinium was definitely gone. Electrium was gone, so I was like, screw it, I'll just grab my Z move at the very end. I'll get the good tier 5s that I can actually use. And so, in no particular order, I was just like, well, let me get another ground immunity, something that can set up stealth rocks. Also gives me a little bit more speed. I mean, it's not anything beyond what I already have, but just it fills in the speed tiers a little bit more, is something that with the offensive nature of this team, I can definitely use. And so with my first tier 5 pick, I end up grabbing Archeops. In the spirit of complete transparency, there was no grand plan behind grabbing my 2 tier 5s. It was more of just a, alright, have to grab a couple tier 5s with what I've picked already. What is not absolute garbage and what can actually work on this team? Archeops, considering my team, is looking more, I mean, I want to say offensive in nature, because I mean, it has, obviously still has Mew, Seismitoad, Mega Scissor. I mean, it has plenty of mons that can be walls and can be fat, but it just, I know my nature as well. I'm definitely a more offensive player, and so Archeops is a tier 5 that can really allow me to play more offensive, like particularly hyper offense. Archeops is a phenomenal lead for hyper offense due to its attack, due to its ability to set up rocks. Just run a focus sash. You can also prevent rocks. You can prevent defog with taunt. You can knock yourself out with head smash so that your opponent can't take advantage of you when you're down to 1 HP and into Fetus. So Archeops just really fit the offensive motif of this team very, very well, and was also another ground immunity, which was only Thunderous at that point. So yeah, Archeops was a tier 5 that I was like, you know what? It's a pretty solid one. I'm okay with this pick, and is really just kind of one of those mons like, well, whatever, team's offensive, slap an Archeops on there, why the heck not? And next up, I obviously, well, I don't obviously because it's not listed on the slide, but I only had enough points for another tier 5 like I had said. So my next tier 5 was a mon that really, I mean, Archeops was a tier 5 that I had my eye on from the beginning. This was kind of a, well, I don't have a fire type, so let's just go ahead and grab a fire type tier 5. So with my last mon pick in this draft, like I said, saving the Z type till the very end, I grab my final free pick, and that is going to be the tier 5 mon that I actually think can come to a couple games, and that is going to be Magmortar. While there's really nothing special about this last pick, it's not like a pick where you're like, oh my gosh, this went from a crap draft to an amazing draft. I mean, it's still a pretty poor draft in my opinion. Magmortar just kind of rounds out the team nicely. It's another special threat, so I mean, now I have a special triad of Gardevoir, Thundee, and Magmortar, which is enough to make an opponent at least think. It has a decent enough speed tier to where your opponent is concerned about it, potentially being like a Scarf variant. It's fat enough to run things like Assault Vest, Iapapa Berry, things like that. It can be a spec set. It has even some cheeky tech options for certain matchups that it might work in. So I mean, Magmortar is one of those tier 5s that's like, well, not going to be brought to every game, probably not even going to be brought to a third of my games, but it's still one of those that, like, in the right matchup, it's very, very good, and that's really all you want out of your tier 5. So very satisfied with Magmortar as my tier 5 pick. I feel like even though I did screw the pooch quite hard in the first couple rounds of this draft, I felt like I was able to bounce back to have a passable draft. Still don't like it all that much. Oh wait, I still need to show you my Z Crystal. So, oops, forgot about that. But with the Z Crystal pick, first of all, I don't like picking Z Crystals. I think you should just pick a Z Captain and go for that. But regardless, had to pick a Z Crystal. All the really good ones were gone. Even Poison got sniped from me, which was going to be my grab otherwise. So I was thinking that, well, what is the mon that benefits most from Z Crystals on my team? Okay, that is Scolipede. Which of its stabs, or which of its most used Z moves is still available? Well, Groundium's gone, Poison's gone, Water's gone, Fighting's gone. Well, is Bug gone? Nope, Bug's there. So yeah, with my Z Crystal pick, I did end up grabbing Buginium. Yep, Buginium. Not much to say about it other than it's for Scolipede, basically, turn that Mega Horn into Savage Spin Out. I theoretically can use it on anything on my team that gets U-turn, so I have a ton of different mons that can use Buginium, but really it's just kind of one of those things that it was I didn't prioritize my Z Crystal because I felt the rest of my team... I felt that picking mons was more important than picking a Z Crystal, and even though I do only have Buginium, it's good enough. I last picked Buginium and was still able to get one of Scolipede's stabs, and Scolipede was really the mon that I wanted to target my Z Crystal towards the most, so it ended up working out. And all things considered, like I was alluding to and talking about in the Magmortar pick before I realized that I still had one pick left that I had to discuss, this team is not good. It's not bad, but it's not particularly good. I still think it's something that I can work with. It has all of those, it has a ton of priority, has a ton of hazards, has a ton of momentum, and is something that I can definitely work with, and I don't think I pigeonholed Mew into any specific role, but overall, just looking at the team as a whole, just feels like it feels slow, feels like I don't have... I don't know, just feels like it doesn't synergize as well as I would want to. But that being said, I'm looking forward to using this team. It is the majority of mons that I have never used before. Scolipede I only used with Baton Pass when that was allowed, and so now just using Scolipede in and of itself without Speed Pass is going to be fun. And then besides that, Mew used once before, but that, well, you've used twice before, but that was also with Coco both times, so we'll see how Mew does without Tapu Koko. And then also Decidueye and Alolan Persian were the only other two mons that I had used before, so very excited to be using those. Seismitoad, of course, got my Water Ground. So, is it a great team? No. Does it have a ton of holes and lacks some synergy? Yeah, but it is a team that I think I can use, and I definitely can see myself making a run with this team. Yeah, 100%. I think this is a team that I can work with. Might change some things up throughout the season, but for the time being, this is a team that I definitely can work with and think I can roll with. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed what turned out to be way too long of a draft recap. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm looking forward to the season, and I hope you are too. But for the time being, this is Styx signing out. Why not? See you guys.